And some of you may say, well, Neetha, isn't, the fear of public speaking the number one fear in the world? So doesn't everybody get like this? Well, the thing is once I started reframing that it's not about me missing an important point on my talk. It's not about the performance factor as it was when I was growing up. This is really about people are coming to gain value. They're coming because you have signed up to commit to delivering a promise. And fine, maybe that's a little bit of pressure on yourself, but you signed up to deliver a promise to them. They're coming to seek wisdom, or they're coming to listen to, maybe being entertained, but also and ultimately they are looking to figure out within themselves what they need, what medicine they need for themselves. So it wasn't ever really about me. I'm just being the vessel, and I'm just being the conduit for what needs to come out of me, so that I'm leaving you, when you come to any of my talks, any of my lectures, even listening to this podcast right now, I'm leaving you better than you were before, or maybe even challenging a perspective that you never had, or maybe poking a part of you to wake you up and to perhaps be a little bit more aware of some of the things that were dormant in you. And so that's how, and for, the past several years, that's how I've been able to transmute, some of that nervousness, because it's just an emotion. And some of you may not know this, but it's the same bodily chemicals within our entire nervous system that produces the same kinds of things when we're excited and when we're nervous. And our body doesn't know the difference. And so a lot of times we think we're nervous about going on stage and, oh my gosh, am I going to like freak out and all of these things? But in actuality, it may just be that we're really excited to deliver value and serve in a way that is so powerful and connect with people. And I never really made or connected the dots so much as when we were like, in pandemic, pandemic life, when I'm doing keynotes over Zoom and I have all of my little like, cheat sheets of what I'm going to say, because hey, on stage, you got to know your stuff. Like everything's polished, right? There's all these cameras, but on Zoom, you've got all of these like post-it notes. And even right now, I've got my post-it note because there's something that I want to share and a point that I want to make, and I want to make sure that I don't forget. Now, I'm sharing all of this, of course, to be a little bit silly and poke fun, but also to normalize the humanness in wanting to do a good job, right? The humanness of wanting to, at least for me, over deliver, especially when I've made a commitment to add value. And for a long time, I thought, well, if I'm not adding value, I'm not going to say anything. If I'm not adding any value, I don't matter. Or if I'm not adding value in a way, then I'm worthless. And these were some of the core wounds as a child that I had, simply because I was constantly doing and doing and doing and being the oldest and the planner, and constantly not being able to sit still at times. And now I've just reframed that in a way where, some of you may think that, oh my gosh, doing a talk for 600 people, that is so scary. How do you calm yourself? How do you calm your nervous system? And of course, I have rituals and tools and practices. I think that when we make it so much about the performative aspect, and I wish I, learned this, shout out to little Nita. I wish I learned this when I was younger as well. And I think that there is so much to learn from like organized sports and organized performance dance. And, it teaches you discipline. It teaches you the love of art, and it teaches you to be creatively expressive. But also, it also makes you anxious and worry that, oh my gosh, if I don't get this trophy, then what does that mean to me? Because there is an outcome attached to it. So rather than dancing for the sake of dancing, or sharing your wisdom for the sake of sharing your wisdom. And it's coming from a place of you owning your worth, because first of all, it lights you up. You love what you're doing. It makes you come alive when you are speaking about certain things. Think about it this way. But I remember my improv teacher, He was like, Neetha, make a list of, all of the things that you would rant about for like a minute. And when I had first learned about this exercise, I was like, wait, what can I rant about for a minute? Okay. So, you'd make your list of all of the things, or it's like, what gets you so mad that you get on your soapbox about? And, back then I was such an advocate, and I still am, but such an advocate of wellness, right? And I was very, like, I was so hardcore, no junk ever, like no sugar ever, anywhere. And, because my dad, both my parents died of medical diseases, right? And so my dad was a smoker for 30 years. So I almost would shame people who would smoke around me. And I'd be like, you know, don't you know that that can really, it was just like so over the top. And I'm sure we all have those things that we get so passionate about. Right? Like for me, it's like when Parle G biscuits first came into the house with my husband and his parents, shout out to mommy and papa. But I was like, there's no way my kid is gonna eat those. Absolutely not. And then slowly and steadily, my boo would bring it over. Slowly and steadily, because there's like a little baby face. Shout out to all the South Asians in the room. There's a baby face on this packet. So anytime we'd go to the Indian store, Ari would pick it up because it looks like him, it's like this brown baby. And, so for those of you who don't know what Parle G biscuits are, they're kind of like the equivalent of like vanilla wafers, probably, or those biscuits that you get on the airplanes. They're like vanilla wafers. And, somebody counteract me on that because that's the only thing that's coming to mind right now. So they're buttery and they're good, but nobody should be eating them, honestly. It's just they're not, especially not kids, right? So, but it's a thing. And okay, never say never because now those biscuits are in our house. So hey, we evolve and we grow, and perhaps we are not as crazy about certain things as we once were. And I bring that up because I think that, I could before this, I could talk so much about how Parle G biscuits, like nobody should be having them. And in that exercise, it was revealed to me, of course, that, okay, I've got, a lot to say, and it's not performative, but it's my own opinion about this, which is so silly and it's so crazy. And there's a reason why, and it's my own opinion, right? Is it backed by science? Maybe, maybe not, probably not for the most part. And so doing exercises like that, where you're really honing in on your own craft of whatever it may be. And for this instance, it was just like getting out of my head of, oh, does it have to be this way? Does it have to be that way? So for anybody that is maybe fearing public speaking, maybe fearing like, oh my goodness, well, how did you still make that move of, wait, you're not nervous anymore? Oh my goodness. And I think that for me, it goes back to two anchors that really pave the way for my nervous system to channel what is about to come out in the way that it needs to. Do I still prepare? Absolutely. But I think now I'm just way more comfortable in trusting and pausing before I need to speak. And there is a reverence to what is coming up in that moment versus having to memorize something, make sure that, all of the things are perfect that are coming out, kind of like an agenda. Well, if that was the case, then, we would all read pieces of paper all the time. And I think we should really celebrate our own humanness. And if you're struggling to figure out what that is like for you, do that exercise that my improv teacher gave me. See you next time at the Brave Table.